Right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and tonight we are going to start covering Watchmen, Season 1. We're doing Episode 1. It's called It's Summer and We're Running Out of Ice. The show just started on HBO a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to get myself back into the way I used to be able to review things. It's why I've been reviewing comics, because it's been it's very easy and comfortable. But now it's time to get back. It's time to jump back and, so besides comics, it's time to start reviewing things like I used to. And so we're starting with Watchmen. And it's, based on the Alan Moore book and Dave Gibbons. This is in the Zack Snyder movie world. Or at least it's in the Watchmen universe. I would say it's probably more likely a graphic novel continuation than to the Zack Snyder movie. That's the one thing I had to keep telling myself, is this isn't a sequel to the movie. This is a sequel to the book. Okay, so I kept thinking, oh, maybe Malin Ackerman will show up, or maybe Patrick Wilson will show up, and I'm like, they're not in this. Okay, sometimes it's really hard when you like something a lot to let go of all these different things that are about it. I actually liked the Watchmen movie. I didn't like everything about it, but I liked some of it. I mean, Zack Snyder to me is very Zack Snyder. I enjoyed Dawn of the Dead, and I liked 300 just fine, and I liked Watchmen. And Sucker Punch was, visually it was fun to watch. There was a train wreck as far as a plot and everything else, but whatever. So anyway, let's talk Watchmen, created by Damon Lindelof. Whether you love him or hate him, I have a love-hate relationship with this guy because of what he did on Lost. What he did at the end of Lost. But The Leftovers is one of my all-time favorite series of all time. And so I figured, alright, let's give this a day in court. It's written by him. It was directed by Nicole Castle. And another reason I was intrigued about this show is because, and not even about Watchmen, is because of Regina King. I've been hearing great things about Regina King in this show. And I also was hearing good things about Don Johnson in this show, who even though I was Miami Vice was out when I was a kid, but I wasn't watching it because my parents wouldn't let me. It was too violent. But I really enjoyed watching Don Johnson over the past couple of decades and things. I mean, he usually plays a heavy, but he's really good at it, and he was hilarious in Django Unchained. And so let's talk about it. Full spoilers if you haven't seen this episode. Now I'm not going to recap the whole thing because I'm trying to, change certain things about this. So we're going to talk about the world of this show. So in the world of this show, cops now are allowed to cover their faces for anonymity. Because people, could target you, take your whole family out. Everybody, once they found out who you were, they could find out everything about you. The flip side of that is that the criminals, at least these white supremacists, they're wearing Rorschach masks. So I guess apparently enough time has gone by for people to not interpret what Rorschach was trying to do in the Watchmen book, and they're basically appropriating that for their own racist needs. Like, oh, if you can hide your faces, so can we. And, we're going to be, oh, hey, we're out there too. We're invisible. And this whole episode, I don't know if it's going to change, except for one particular scene, but this all takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And one thing that made me very ashamed of myself was that I didn't know, like at the beginning of this episode, they talk about the events in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. With the race riots where a bunch of racist white people attacked and killed a lot of black people. And I'm ashamed of myself because as a major, one of my major interests is history. And I didn't know about this. And it's just, I wish I had, but then I also wish I hadn't known that this had happened. I didn't play that part of this because it just seemed like kind of a little too gratuitous to play in my review. But it's awful. There's an important part to this, though, is that the kid at the end of that scene, at the beginning of this review, who's with the baby, holding the baby, I think is a very important character because he has that paper that says, protect the kid. And I believe that kid is Louis Gossett Jr. in the wheelchair. And he plays, kind of a key role. He shows up twice, in the middle and at the end of the episode. And so this kid, I think some people are saying that he's supposed to be Dr. Manhattan, or that he's seeing, like Manhattan seeing through his eyes, or something's going on. And so this whole race war thing, it springboard to present day Tulsa, Oklahoma, where this cop pulls this guy over. It's interesting to see that cops, he has the face mask on, or he gets in his car, he takes it off, and they have to ask for permission to release their gun. Like, they don't get to carry a gun, they have a gun in their car, and you have to go, get questioned for if you can pull a gun out. Because in this day and age, in this alternate America, Robert Redford is the president now instead of Richard Nixon. And, first it was Nixon, then apparently it was still Ford, and then Robert Redford. And we have this very left way of, the I don't know if it's far left or a lot of people in this country would say this is far left thinking. Keeping the guns away from people, making it harder to get guns, things like that. So the cops have to wait to get guns. They have to get real permission to figure out if there's a threat necessary. Do you feel imminent threat to you? So it's trying to protect the people, it's trying to protect the cops. The criminals are acting out as well, doing the same thing. And it's all just kind of takes place in the Watchmen universe. In fact, part of me was kind of thinking like Joker, when people talk about Joker, that they didn't really matter that it was in the DC universe. This could have stood on its own. I almost feel like this show could stand on its own and just be its own thing without the whole Watchmen stuff. I mean, they could make it weird, and you could go, why are these people wearing these things? And maybe they could peel back the layers of some sort of the way superheroes used to be in this country or something like that. And then people would throw comparisons of Watchmen rather than just saying, oh, this is a Watchmen show. But nonetheless, it is in the Watchmen book universe. So in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this guy gets pulled over. He can't pull his gun out. It won't come out. He feels an imminent threat because he says he saw a Rorschach mask in the guy's car. But before he can get his gun out, as he gets it out, he's killed by this guy. And that pretty much springs the plot of this first episode, where it's the hunt for this guy who killed this cop. So we're introduced at this point to Tim Blake Nelson and Don Johnson's characters. Don Johnson's like the captain or the chief, and Tim Blake Nelson plays a character called the Looking Glass. He has this reflective service mask that he puts on. So it's they've got these weird kind of superhero personas. Regina King's character is called Night Nun, and there's still a Red Scare, but it's he's wearing just a freaking ski mask over his face. And there's Pirate Jenny. So they're all kind of basing themselves on the old Minutemen characters and the old Watchmen characters, which is a little weird. There's a guy with a panda mask on his head. It's all really weird, and that's why I kind of feel like maybe if they lost all that stuff and just kind of used some weird tech and things like that, this might just be a little more interesting. But otherwise, so far, man, it's kind of weird how they put some of this together. I mean, I love the ideas of the anonymity, but mixing it in with everything else. And even when they throw in, there's a scene where briefly you see Dr. Manhattan on Mars. And it's just kind of honestly, it was just oh, that's cool, but really, did I need it? And same goes for when we're introduced to Jeremy Irons. Because we might as well just get those two out of the way. He's playing Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias. He's been declared dead, according to Louis Gossett Jr.'s newspaper. So he's obviously in seclusion, and still, he's a weird. He's a weird guy. He's sitting there naked, getting his legs rubbed by his two servants, who I'm pretty sure must be robots or something, because they don't know how to cook. They don't. He instead of a knife, he has a horseshoe. So Vite, I think, is doing experiments still, even though he's getting older. It's also at the anniversary. What anniversary? I'm assuming it's the anniversary probably of when everything, here's the Manhattan part, when everything went down in the first book. But they don't say. It's all shrouded, and his whole thing is shrouded in mystery, and, they're gonna spread this out for us. But the crux of this is still following Regina King's character, who plays Night Nun. Her name is Abra. Her last name is Abra. And so, with the police, with the cop in the hospital, we are led to believe in this scene that she's a retired cop. And I actually kind of bought into it. Because even though I know she had dressed up in the costume, I was like, oh, well, she's going to be a vigilante or something. If something's going to happen to her. What I didn't expect was that she was just going to be a total badass undercover agent. And I got to say, it's really nice to see Regina King getting this kind of role. Over the years, I think back to when I first saw her, and it was probably Jerry Maguire. And she's always just kind of been relegated to wife, girlfriend character. And it's really cool that she gets to be in this role because she owns this. This is got to be a dream come true to get this kind of role after all these years. Not to say that those other roles don't have their moments and everything, but this is something you can really chew on. This is demanding. This is physically demanding, and she rises to the challenge. She does an incredible acting job, and Don Johnson, by the way. I did not know Don Johnson could sing. I mean, he's really good in this too, and he's a good guy for a change. Back to being a good guy, and so he's her boss. And she takes a guy hostage. Well, she's not hostage. She goes and picks up a guy and leaves him in the trunk of her car as they go to this meeting for all the cops to decide what to do about this cavalry group that all dress up like Rorschachs. And they're basically the Klan with Rorschach masks. And Chief, played by Don Johnson, allows there to be a 24-hour day where they can all have their guns freely because they feel like they're in imminent danger. There's something going on. And so Night Nun comes to him and says, I got a guy. So they put him in this weird pod, this kind of I want to say it's like a hypnotizing deprivation tank kind of thing. It's like a psychological experiment where Looking Glass goes in there and messes with his head to get him to see if he knows, who shot the cop. I thought that was all really cool. I liked, after that she beats the crap out of the guy to get the information. They find out that it's at this ranch. They go to the ranch, and it turns into a bullet festival where a bunch of CGI cows just get mowed down. And these people are willing to go, all the way. They've got freaking cyanide pills. They got a freaking gun in the back of their truck, and they got a plane to take off in. So these people aren't messing around, and she actually catches the guy that killed the cop, but he takes a cyanide pill and he dies. Two of the other people, they get in the plane, and this is where we get to see a Night Owl-esque plane that is with Pirate Jenny and Don Johnson's character, where they have a really cool scene where they torch the plane and they crash too, and it's kind of just this big moment, and it was really exciting. And I gotta say, I was really entertained by the majority of this episode. We might as well talk about this too, with the squids falling from the sky, little squids. Now, if you're only familiar with the movie, at the end of that, Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias, fakes a bunch of, he causes a bunch of explosions, massive atomic bomb explosions to take place all over the earth, and it gets blamed on Dr. Manhattan. And that's what stops World War III. In the book, if you haven't read it, Adrian Veidt created this huge, like, basically, like, it's supposed to be an alien. And he has it teleported into the middle of New York City, where this thing popping up out of nowhere completely just obliterates, like, just the city. And the thought of an imminent alien threat causes the world to come together and stop World War III. And that's why this takes place in the book universe and not the movie universe. So the little squids, I don't know why that's happening, but it's really creepy because it's like a common occurrence apparently. Now is this something that Veidt has? I'm thinking that this is something Veidt just has, like, in the atmosphere or something. Like, something is happening so that, just to remind people that the threat is still there. I don't know. Again, they don't give a lot of answers, and that's one of my problems right away. It's a minor one, right? But it's a problem that I have when I think about Damon Lindelof shows, is starting these mysteries and not being able to pay them off. So I'm a little wary, but I'm still on board. So after this great victory, because we're back on track now here, they have this great night. Also, the guy who played Black Manta's in this too, as Regina King's husband. So it's really cool to see him in this too. They're having a nice soiree at their house, dinner, congratulating themselves on a job well done. This is where Don Johnson sings and does coke. And as soon as he started singing, and I realized they were having a grand old time, I knew he was fucking dead. He was going to die. And that bummed me out. That really bummed me out. And I have to say, it hurts the show. I know they wanted to do something big, but I was enjoying Don Johnson's performance, and the anticipation that I was going to possibly get more really kind of hurts the show a little bit. Now, where they go from there, whether it rises to the challenge and I can forget about that, it remains to be seen. But I have to say, it's impactful. It does its job by being impactful. He gets stopped on the side of the road. There's these flashing lights, and Regina Hall gets a call, and by a guy who says, "I know who you are. Don't bother wearing the mask. You need to come out to this tree." And I'm like, "Oh, he's hanging there." She goes out there, and there's Louis Gossett Jr., the little boy from the beginning, standing underneath Don Johnson hanging from the tree, and he's kind of sitting there like this. And what I'm trying to figure out is, did the kid do it? Or did this old man do it? Because earlier in the episode he says, "Do you think I can lift 200 pounds? Now, I'd say Don Johnson might weigh about 200 pounds. So was it something that he saw that he was going to do? Which is another reason why I think people might be thinking that this is like Dr. Manhattan. Another reason you might be thinking this is maybe this old man can lift 200 pounds. Because the picture that is in Don Johnson's house leads me to believe that when he was a little boy, he was raised by a racist, that maybe his father was part of this whole Tulsa thing. So there's a lot going on, and more mystery than I care to I'm just a little nervous about the whole mystery aspect of it. But I'm sure that it's something I can get over. It's just kind of like a knee-jerk reaction to a Damon Lindelof show. So Don Johnson's dead. Regina King found his body, and there's this old man in a wheelchair that we don't know what the heck happened. This show is full of current themes that are very relatable right now, especially with race relations, and I honestly didn't mind it at all. There was that one line at the beginning with the eggs that was a little too hitting you in the face, where they had the eggs, and they said, "Oh, well, if the white mixes with the yolk even a little bit, like, it has these strong walls, but if the yolk and the white mix, it falls apart." That was a little heavy-handed. but I can live with it. But it does leave me wanting more. So that's pretty much a pretty good compliment that you can give a show. I mean, it's like a comic book that I read, you know? Like if I get to the end of the issue and I can't wait to read the next one, that's a pretty good recommendation as far as I'm concerned. The performances in this are fantastic. The production design, excellent as always. HBO really did a really good job here. Story-wise, I'm a little... It's finding its legs. And so hopefully, once we get a bigger picture, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable. Also, like the ties to the actual Watchmen universe feel just kind of tacked on and just kind of filling the episode to make us sure that we're reminded that we're in the Watchmen universe. But I still really love the whole idea of the cops being able to cover their faces, of the idea of the criminals reacting in kind. It's kind of like when they say, you know, like Batman creates his own, you know, enemies. It's kind of like the cops, in order to do what they do, they create, you know, criminals that just respond in kind, that get worse in kind. I like that. I like that idea as well. So for as far as first episodes go, I think it's really solid. It's not the strongest pilot I've ever seen in my life, but because of the performances, because of the world building that we're getting and all that stuff, I am very intrigued. I'm very hopeful. I highly recommend watching this show if you get the opportunity to watch it. I think HBO now has a 6-day free trial, so I don't know. Wait till the whole thing's done and then plow through it. But otherwise, I'd give it 2 thumbs up with a cautious, hopefully this stays on track. But again, I think it's just me and the Lindelof thing. So if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. You can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun if you want to talk to me about the show or comics or whatever else we cover. Otherwise, this is Rob, and we'll see you on the next video. I'm going to be doing Watchmen episode 2 probably tomorrow, and episode 3, so we can do it live on Sunday. And then on Monday, we're going to start reviewing that other new show that's on here, the one with the girl from Logan and the guy from what's the Hamilton? And I can't remember, for the life of me, I just keep forgetting the title of this because I've heard so many young adult title books, like names are like, I don't think The Golden Compass is a young adult book, but I've heard so many different titles lately that it's like messing with my memory. So I keep wanting to say Mortal Instruments, but I know that's not it. That's that one from like Guillermo del Toro or whatever. It's like, every time I think it, you know what, all right, we're going to find out, all right? We're going to turn this off. We're gonna get this whole title thing figured out, all right? We're gonna get this so I can finally know what show we're talking about. So this is like me previewing my next. What is this called? What is it called? His Dark Materials. Well, look, I'm not a big musical fan, so I hope this guy can do more than sing. He was great on House, but he was rapping all the time, so I don't know. So anyway, look forward to that as well. Plus, we're always going to be continuing with our comic book reviews throughout the week. And hopefully we're going to be getting back on track. I have a schedule made out for everything that we haven't been covering, and that goes back all the way to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. So look out for all that. We might be doing a channel update for any of you guys that are interested in knowing what that schedule is going to look like. So this is Rob saying have a great night, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.